Hi, today I'm walking you through the self-awareness roadmap. It's for entrepreneurs that are really wanting to create their dream, not a job. And there are 5 components that are involved with the self-awareness roadmap that we're going to dive deep into today. So, in this masterclass, you're going to learn how important self-awareness is to help you get to where you want to be. Are you ready? This is for the overwhelmed entrepreneur wearing all the hats in your business and terrified of dropping the ball. It's for corporate employees wanting to make a change to do something you really love, but worried about the lifestyle you'll leave behind if you dare to chase your dream. If you recognize a roadblock in your career, but you can't figure out the solution to move past it, does that describe you? Unless I've worked with you before, it's highly unlikely that we know each other. We're probably strangers, and I have no idea what your challenges are. And you probably haven't heard of me before. So, thanks to social media, we have had the opportunity now to get introduced. So, who am I? I am Clinda Trifo. I have written some books, they're on Amazon. I had my own podcast back in the day. In 2010, anxiety almost took me out. So I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and panic attacks. And it took me 17 certifications, big struggle to try to find the answers that nobody had. And I was able to beat anxiety disorder in 2012. And in that journey, I also learned some pretty powerful lessons about mindset. So I've got a crazy story to share with you before I get into the nitty gritty here. I had worked in corporate for 25 years and I absolutely loved what I did. I loved the clients. I loved the team that I worked with. I loved the product that I sold. I loved the challenge of trying to figure everything out. I loved all of it. I remember I had woken up one day and I didn't want to go to work. I had never experienced that before. And I know I am weird because I learned the hard way that this is not normal. So that day, it took me everything I had to get ready for work. I just did not want to go into the office. And I was in tears. So I get into the office that day and I went and talked to the manager because I was upset, like I was crying. And I went into her office and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I didn't want to come to work today." And she goes, "Okay, so why? Like, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "I didn't want to come to work today." She's like, "Kalinda, why? Like, tell me why." And I'm like, "That's it. I never wanted to come to work today, and I've never felt that way before." I'm like, late 30s, first time in my life I ever woke up and didn't want to go to work. I know it's strange to most people, but I didn't understand that that's how most people felt every day. So she looked at me like I had 2 heads and I was from Mars. And she told me to go back and talk to my coworkers and ask them who wanted to come into work today. Uh, yeah, none of them. So I was so blown away and confused because I could not imagine people spending every day not wanting to get out of bed to go to work. Like, that was a hard realization for me. So I had gone home and I knew it was because my dad was sick. I knew it was external circumstances that were impacting the reason I felt the way that I did. And I got up the next day and the next day and the next day, and I wasn't feeling like going to work either. So I knew that a change was coming. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shift it. And I woke up one morning and I had my head and it was against the headboard. I really didn't want to get out of bed. And I remember thinking, okay, you are where you are because this is where you want to be. My next thought is like, hell it is. And so then I had to figure out, what do you want? What do you want? And I wanted to be able to work with my clients. I wanted to be able to work from home and I wanted freedom. That's what I wanted. So I got clear on what I wanted. What was I going to do about it? And when I got really honest with myself, I had no flipping idea what I was going to do about it. The only thing that I could think of that day was I was going to update my LinkedIn profile. That's it. That's the only idea that I had. I had no other answers. And so I got up, got ready, went to work, sat down, updated my LinkedIn profile before I started, and I went to work. For the next 3 days, I just went through the motions, same as I did before. 3 days later, I get a phone call from this guy. And he said, Kalinda, you don't know me, but I am looking for account manager. I would be happy if you came and worked for me. I'll let you work from home. I don't know what you make, but I'll match it. You'd be doing the same thing that you do now, only working from home. I thought he was kidding, and I didn't believe him because I thought it was a scam. But it ended up that I sent him, I think, 5 pages of questions because it didn't matter what he was offering me. I needed to make sure that I was going to be able to provide the same amount of service to my clients, right? And so it ended up that he almost had to write a thesis to get me, but it was legitimate. And I ended up leaving and going in and working with him for the next 3 years. But in those 3 years where I got that, I gained some clarity while I was working at home. And I realized that it was me that was in my way. It wasn't the job that was the problem. It was that what I was designed to do was in a different direction. And I wasn't willing to accept that at that time. So I had to be pulled out of my comfort zone and pulled out of my comfort zone and then pulled out of my comfort zone again until I was willing to take action on what I was actually called to do. And sometimes making that decision is difficult. Sometimes the roadblocks that we get, the mountains that we get in life are put there in order to make us so uncomfortable that we decide to make a change. And so with that, I am going to give you the exact framework that I used in order to pivot with self-awareness, and so that I could transition from corporate to entrepreneur. In 2018, I left the corporate world, retired from corporate at 45, and my hobby became my business. Since then, I have been spending every day doing what I love. I bounce out of bed when I want to, and I'm happy when I do. Are you ready to learn more? Stick with me. In the big scheme of things, if you look at the really big picture, I developed a program called Pivot, and we start off with looking at think. So when I start working with clients, the biggest thing, the foundation for everything, whether you like to admit it or know it or not, is mindset. And the very first step in mindset is becoming self-aware. You have to stop long enough to pay attention to what is the foundation of your life, right? And so I've developed a system that gets you out of your head without having to drag the past into the future, so that you can have all that headspace to create the opportunities you actually want in as little as 9 weeks, even if you've been burning the candle at both ends for years. This is the blueprint I use to help my clients think. And before you can start to think, you've really got to get clear on where you're at. So when an entrepreneur first starts out, or if you're in the corporate world, you have to decide what it is that you really want. And if you're not clear, if you're not focused, it can be overwhelming. The responsibility can be really, really heavy. You can get distracted really easy. You lack motivation. You feel like everything is closing in on you. And you know that there's something more, you just don't know what. So if you are at that level, it's okay. We all get to that level at different times, depending where we are on our path. But it is the decision process. That's where we are trying to build a foundation for what we want to grow. The next level is the plan. So once we get clear, once we make that decision, we want to have a plan on how to get it to the next level. You know what you want. You just have to figure out how to get it. And you have to be 100% committed. There has to be focus, and you have to have direction, right? This is where you get a little bit more security. Next step up is implementing. By this point, you are 100% dedicated. You have got your plan in place. You've got a little bit more balance. You're feeling some success, and you've made it. So now it's just time to leverage, and so that you can spend more time enjoying it and less time working. And when we get there at the very top, you have emotional security, you feel liberated, you feel success, you feel like you made it. And so the mission is to help you live your legacy and get the life that you want. If you're not feeling liberated and you're not feeling you're living your legacy, a lot of times when we look at this decision that we're making, if you are making a decision based on what you would, could, or should do, sometimes we're doing it for the wrong reasons. Sometimes we're doing it to please others. Sometimes we're doing it for money. Sometimes we're doing it for, it's an ego goal. And so if you have an ego goal, when you get to the very top, you could be working super hard and you're just not happy with what you built. You built a job rather than a dream. And so it is mission critical that when you are on the deciding process, that you're crystal clear that it is something that you're building that you love, right? You have to have your passion and your fire, because that's what gets you feeling you're liberated up here. If you're doing this for any other reason outside of your love for what you are building, when you get up here, the burden comes with you. So today, what we are trying to achieve is, I want to show you the roadmap of self-awareness, and so that it can help you increase productivity in less time. You can trade overwhelm for freedom, and you can get more results with less struggle. And most importantly, you're going to love it when you get there, right? So the self-awareness roadmap, we start with belief, and that gives you the desire for the thoughts that you need in order to be able to create what you really want. And then we have to, the thought is what creates evidence. And so a lot of times when we are trying to build something, evidence starts popping up, like, and it works both ways. So it's evidence that it is going to work, and then there's evidence that it isn't going to work, and it's trying to get a good balance. And so that the evidence supports the emotion. Now, the emotion is the mountain that stands between your belief and your thoughts. So this is all things invisible, and the action that you need to take in order to get results. And this is the visible. So when we know that we have beliefs and thoughts that are triggering these emotions, we can tell what the beliefs and the thoughts are by how we feel. So if I call it the freak or light the fire, the evidence is either going to freak you out and stop you, or it's going to light your fire and it's going to drive you. So paying attention to the freak or the fire is going to be key in figuring out if you are going to take action. Now, fear feels the same as excitement. So that's what I'm saying. You have to pay very close attention if you are freaked out, which is fear driving you, or if it's lighting the fire and it's excitement driving you. They feel the same, but you have to be aware enough to figure out which one it is. Once you have the emotion figured out, then you start taking action, you start making your plan. You have to be consistent. And if you don't have the passion to drive the fire from here, it's easy to burn out, super easy to burn out, because it takes some oomph to get to where you are, right? And of course, when you're consistent, as long as you don't quit, mission is to get results, right? So we're going to break this down a little bit further. First step again is belief. And so where do those beliefs come from? Where did you pick them up? Which ones are actually helping you, and what can you let go of? So if you don't know what you don't know, you'll keep doing what you've always done because comfort is easier, and humans tend to choose the path of least resistance. And did you know that most people do have be backwards? The do have be belief. That has been ingrained with many people because you're taught that you have to do something. And then when you do something, you're going to have something. And then when you have that thing, you are going to be happy, or you are going to feel successful, or you're going to something in the future. Insert that thing here. And that is the best recipe to keep the carrot dangling in front of your face, always feeling like you failed, right? So if you take the do, have, be and you flip it, and so you understand that if you be it now, how are you feeling right now? Be that thing that you want to be here first. Be it. You don't have to, you can do it in the invisible. It doesn't need to be visible. So do it in the invisible state. How you feel right now, it's going to dictate what you're creating. This is how you make the decision on what you're deciding. You have to be it before you see it, right? So be how you feel right now is going to dictate what you create. Once you be it, then all of a sudden you're going to get the ideas and the motivation that you need to do whatever it needs to do in order to have it. And then you have it, right? So it's backwards to how most people are programmed, and it's caused world of hurt for many. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live a whole life believing it's stupid. And so my question is, what things have we bought into that are making us feel small because we're not judging ourselves with the right measuring stick, right? Make sure that if you are judging yourself, it's with a measuring stick that is in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish. If you keep asking why, it's going to send you into a thinking loop, and trying to talk it out can sometimes activate a trigger that keeps you frozen rather than getting you motivated. The self-awareness roadmap, we talked about belief, and now we're going to dive in to the thought. So thought are the words that are mulling around in your brain. Most people have an inner narcissist that is crueler than any human being possibly could be with those thought processes that are running through our heads. And so it's really important to pay attention. Are they building you up? And if they aren't, how can you become your biggest fan? Do you have moments in your day that woulda, shoulda, coulda are consuming your thoughts, taking up way too much time? 10% of your awareness is used to think. 90% is your habit, it's your subconscious. And those are the things that we do automatically without even thinking about it. You're running on autopilot, right? So what if your thinking has been programmed to be a GPS getting you what you don't want rather than being the superpower that gives you your Midas touch? How do you change that? If a belief pattern has been programmed to be a habit, you could be sabotaging yourself and not even be aware of it. The problem is when we have created a habit, we're running on automatic. So we don't even realize it isn't the way it should be. It's just what we do because that's what we know, right? Thought without action, it's going to be a fantasy. But a lot of times our thought, if it is negative thinking, it's freezing us. So you're not taking action. You're sabotaging yourself with inaction or procrastination, right? So the mission is to help you turn your thought into reality, which brings us over to emotion. Emotion is how we feel. And it is the mountain between the invisible and the visible. So how do you react when there's continual change? A lot of times people, they get scared, right? And they'll collect evidence of why things won't work. They'll collect evidence on why they shouldn't. And it's important to collect evidence on why you should and what could work. So the driving force with emotion, there's only two. It's either fear or love. And when you choose fear or love, it helps with the freak. So fear is going to make you freak out. It's going to freeze you. Love is going to light the fire, and it's going to be the passion that drives you to take action. It's going to be the passion that keeps you consistent, and it is going to be the thing that's going to stick with you and give you enough gas to get results. So when we're talking about action, how long does it take for you to take action? How many times do you look at things on your to-do list before you actually cross them off? Are you ready to spend more time living than working? Your people that you love, they deserve the best of you, not the rest of you, right? You can always get another job. You can't get another person. Their saying goes to the world, you might be one, but to the people that love you, you're the only one, right? And so it's important to put your focus into the things that love you and feed you and nourish you physically, emotionally, and mentally. So the next step is where we head to results. And in results, we have to focus on, what do you want? What's the plan? When are you going to start? And do you really believe it's possible? Here are the promises that you need to make to yourself for this to really work. I promised myself to act on my thought and not think about the same thing 10 times before I do something. I promised myself that only 3 things will be on my to-do list at any given time. I promised myself to say yes to the things that will help me reach my goals and no to everything that I will regret and judge myself for later. And I promised myself to focus and not get distracted by shiny object syndrome. I promised myself to commit and do everything I have to implement the habits to be successful. And I promised myself to have more fun than I've ever had in my entire life and make that my lifestyle. Doesn't that sound good? I like it. So my question to you is, what is one thing that you can take away from our time together today and that you can implement, and so that you can build your dream without feeling burnt out? If all you need is the information, then you're set to go. I'd be thrilled if you joined the Pivot with Self-Awareness Facebook group so that you can let me know what has helped. And bonus, you get to access more information like this if it's helped you. Now, if you are wanting help and guidance, stick around because I have some special gifts that I want to share with you. Did you know that what you think is the foundation for everything that you do? Today, I have a gift for you. Today, I have given you a sneak peek into the exact method that I use to pivot from corporate to entrepreneur. You got a glimpse of the 9-step blueprint that I use to help my clients pivot. And I've given you the self-awareness roadmap, which is the first 9 steps to help you think. Being a go-giver is another one of my superpowers. So for those that stick around to the end of this class, I have an exclusive bonus just for you. So this is my Think signature formula to help you pivot with the Think Foundation. And if you look here, step number 1 is self-awareness. If there was a way to pivot with self-awareness and get support while you're implementing the steps, is that something that you'd want to hear about? Because now, pivot with self-awareness, you can get with support. Sam, she's from the United States. I now feel level-headed and able to do what is necessary to live a peaceful and happy life. Jesus, he's from Venezuela. He did a whole video on when I worked with him, there was an issue that he was convinced he had, but we were able to release it, and then he was able to get on with getting on so that he could create different things for himself. It was neat. And so think is the exact formula I use to shift from being an employee to entrepreneur. For me, it cost me over $150,000 plus investing in countless programs. And I spent a decade trying to get my PhD in survival to figure it out. Plus, I collected 17 certifications along the way. I promise you, that is the hardest way to do this. So now what I do is I help entrepreneurs ready to make a change, build their dream and not a job. You don't need to be building another job that has you strapped in, taking up all of your time, right? You want to be able to pivot and so that you can have some freedom, so that you can have some peace, right? Awesome. So I want you to feel the peace and freedom that comes from living your dream. And I want you to be excited to start your day, because that is so much better than dreading it. So if you're ready to wear your purpose hat rather than maneuvering the daily grind, I am ready to help you work smarter, not harder. And if you are ready to peel back the layers to figure out the steps that you need to take to get results, I am happy to work with you. Now, there's possible side effects. You could feel lighter, you could gain clarity, could have more time, feel more productive, get results. You can have a little bit more excitement than what you're used to, feeling gratitude, peace, and freedom. We'll take those side effects all day long, right? The mission is to help you think less, not more, to get more done in less time. And so even if you've been working to find solutions for decades, the most valuable asset is time. It can't be bought, and it's a pity if you waste it. Even if you're convinced that you tried everything, it's frustrating, I get it. Even if you don't know how it could be possible to work less and make more, been there too. It can feel impossible on those days where you can't even find a minute for yourself, right? I hope that gives you a high-level view of the self-awareness roadmap. Now, if you want to dive a little bit deeper, I do have some exciting bonuses for you. So bonus number 1, I am offering you a strategy session. What happens in the strategy session? Well, the agenda is we get clear on where you're at. We try to understand what your goals are. We figure out what has worked for you, what hasn't worked so far, help you gain clarity on what the roadblocks may be. And if it makes sense, we're going to give you the options available on how we can work together so you can reach your goals faster. Sound good? Usually I charge $125 for a strategy session. Bonus number 2, when you do show up for your strategy session, your pivot advisor is going to send you a free copy of my ebook. And so as soon as you're done the call, the advisor is going to send you that ebook. Watch for it in your email. Usually I charge $15.99 for that book. Now, bonus number 3, this one is super exciting. You get instant access and a sneak peek into Pivot from BS. Yeah, no, that's belief systems. And it helps you understand how to create your ideal life. There's some exercises that I've included in there, some strategies, and it gives you a high-level view of how to create your ideal life. That training I charge $250 for. Now, bonus number 4 is I'm also going to give you the belief worksheet. Now, what's that good for? You know, a lot of times when you don't take the time to really figure out what you want and what it is that's sabotaging you from getting where you want to be faster, it's because you're not asking the right questions. So this belief worksheet is loaded with the questions that you need to get crystal clear and honest with yourself, and so that you can bring to the surface the limiting beliefs that are floating under below and really be able to get clarity so that you can take action and get to where you want to be. And usually I charge $9 for that. Now, bonus number 5, I am also inviting you to join the Pivot Facebook group. And so in there, obviously it's free. There is a community. I do pop-up training events in there once in a while. If you have any questions, that's the best place to get a hold of me, because usually my calendar is filled with other things. So if you want to ask questions, the Pivot Facebook group is the best place to reach me. Now, once again, you're going to get the Pivot strategy session, usually $125. You're going to get the Pivot ebook. Your Pivot advisor is going to send that to you after your call. That's usually $16. How to create your ideal life training. That is training that provides about 40 minutes of training. It does include exercises and strategies. That I usually charge $250 for. The self-awareness belief roadmap, that is the thing that's going to get you out of your head and get crystal clear on the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to be able to get to the next level. That's usually $9. And of course, the invite to the Pivot Facebook community is absolutely free. So you are getting $400 worth of value for the bonus today. But when you book your Pivot strategy session, you are going to get all of these bonuses for $9.99. So I encourage you to click the link below, claim your strategy session, get all of the bonuses, and we are going to help you pivot with self-awareness. See you soon.